Hello, welcome to Soulprint. Thank you so very, very much for being here. My name is Cyndy. So, over, I'm trying to think of it, on Friday, Trump returned to the scene of the crime and met with his accomplices, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes only. And as near as you can kind of figure from the news coming out, the Republicans just basically bent the knee, kissed the ring, shut whatever, okay? Um, So they are in line. So what they have done is they have, surrendered their white flag. They have surrendered to the party of Trump, and that's where it's at right now. The apparently at some point after that or around that same time, he met with business CEOs. And they came out of the meeting basically saying this guy can't hold a thought in his head. He can't string sentences together. He's like not making any sense to anyone. He doesn't know what he was talking about. So that's not really a good look. But the Republicans are just going to continue to stand in line. And so they have completely surrendered. They have surrendered, frankly, their own careers, because I don't know why they think this is such a brilliant strategic career move, but apparently. They have surrendered whatever dignity they had left. They have surrendered whatever moral compass had vanished somewhere into their being. They certainly handed over their spine. So, where does that take us? Like, what the heck is that energy that's going on in there? And I want to take a look at that. I want to see actually how the GOP is doing. I want to get a handle on what these people are thinking. And more importantly, I want to know as the next several months unfold, how does that look? Like, how does that look? Once the sentencing has come down. And apparently Trump is doing everything he has told them, you need to make this stop. Just make it stop. Well, that just goes to show you he doesn't even understand how the basic justice system works. And God knows they're trying. I mean, they impeached him, Merrick Garland, the other day. That's not going anywhere. So there's a lot of bluster and nonsense. I think the thing that's most certainly aggravating as I look at it is you have all of these, like lawyers, right? So many politicians are lawyers. And for reasons that are just beyond anybody's ability to understand, they have completely surrendered any legal knowledge that they might have had. And the rule of law has shifted and morphed into either the Bible or the party of Trump. That's sort of, their new law books. Okay. So that's going on. So I want to take a look at that. I don't know if you noticed or if you heard, but apparently Trump is pushing, I guess, the people that he met with, Congress that he met with on Friday. He wants some of the coastal waters of the United States renamed after him. You couldn't make this stuff up if you tried. So, Spirit, I want some insight into Trump and the GOP. What went on behind the scenes? What are those members privately thinking? Is that in any way going to shift or impact their public behavior and statements? And how does this unfold as the days and weeks and months go by? So, as of right now, um, the GOP truly have been renamed like the party of Trump. It's a good way to refer to them because they simply have surrendered and they are going to fall in line and they are going to follow him right off the cliff. They are not they're not able. So you have some who are diehards, and even though they know that Trump is, kind of losing his grip, they entertain some fantasy that they will be the next one to step in. And so if they are as outrageous as Trump, or they support every little stupid thing he says and does, they'll be somehow pleasing to the Trump supporters, the MAGA people. And, you would think by now these guys would have learned that by and large, if you're not Trump, they don't care. I mean, DeSantis tried it. How many of those other presidential wannabes tried that same sort of attitude? It didn't get them anywhere. It seems like unless it's delivered by the orange guy, it's just not received. So I'm not sure what their strategy is or what their logic is, but it really is this sense of, I need to stand as close to him as possible because I want to be there to step in, take over, whatever. It's not that they don't see the deterioration. It's that they're hoping that they can stay on the merry-go-round until he falls off. It's just not another way to say it. So that's some of them. A lot of them are not, they're not convinced this is the way to go. They recognize the damage and the destruction to their party. They recognize that he's sort of losing it up there and he's not making a lot of sense. They don't like the idea that they are, in fact, supporting a felon who has, at this point, been convicted of 34 federal charges, but they're just they're in too far, and they can't figure out how to extract themselves, and they can't figure out how to do it without, Liz Cheney. What happened to her really frightened a lot of people. Because if a Cheney can get sort of literally booted right out of the Republican Party, how does that bode well for them? I mean, it doesn't. And so for a lot of them, they're just simply scared that whatever they have, they're going to lose, and they can't figure out how to back up. And so, quietly amongst themselves, they're like, my God, he's crazy. But I have to say, as I step into that energy, honestly, a lot of them are actually quite afraid. And had they banded together and done the right thing 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago when he was impeached, they wouldn't be having this problem because things would have just gone on, right? Recovery would have happened, but no. They were just a bunch of fraidy cats, and they wouldn't come together. And truly, they can't defeat him individually. I mean, that's what happened with Cheney, right? I mean, she was just swept right out of the party. Now, that's not the end for her, but we're not going down that road right now. So what you have are people who are really afraid. They have figured out or seen firsthand exactly kind of how crazy, I'm sorry to say, but MAGA people are. And they're not anxious to kind of put themselves on the line. Instead, they seem to be, just doing whatever he wants. His command is what they're going to do. And they look at people who have been strong enough to push back. The judges, the Democrats, the legal system. And there is a recognition that honestly anything that they can do at this point is almost too little, too late. There are many Republicans who really want him to sort of not win the election. They want it to stop, but they can't. They don't see another path for them. Okay, so what happened? Okay, so we get it. They're scared. uh, and to some degree, they're legitimately scared. They're scared for their own careers, they're scared for their family, etc. They recognize they've gone too far and they can't figure out how to backtrack. So all they can do is to continue to, kiss the ring. Just as simple as that. So, Spirit, where does this go from here? Like, where does this go? Is first of all, is Trump going to be at the RNC in the horrible city of Milwaukee? I love that the Biden campaign is putting up big billboards in Milwaukee that does, Trump says this is a horrible city. Because of course they're hosting the RNC convention. You know, what, July 15th, it's like a month from now. And isn't Michigan in a swing state? People are going to react to that. Is he going to be there? At this point, it looks like he is, but it for some reason the energy around that convention just somehow feels a little bit more like volatile. It just feels like tempers are short, and it somehow or another, I don't know. It's just like there's surprises coming. There's things happening that maybe they weren't anticipating or expecting. I don't know if somebody is going to like throw their hat in the ring right at the end. I'm not sure what this energy is I'm seeing, but it just feels as if it's kind of like it, it feels as if people have sort of had enough, or a lot of people have had enough. And when they see Trump, when they listen to him at the convention, and if he actually shows up for the CNN debate, which I personally don't think he will, but we shall see, it's going to become so apparent that in some way the whole conversation about boats with batteries and sharks was actually not as far-fetched as some of the stuff that'll be coming out of his mouth by the middle of July. Go figure. I'm not a sailor. I live on the prairies. But, like, don't most boats have engines as opposed to batteries? I'm just asking. I don't get it. So, something's going to be around that convention that just makes it feel a little bit chaotic. People are sort of testy. It's like the expectation is that everybody is simply going to fall in line. And when that doesn't appear to instantaneously happen, it feels like that's sort of what sets off this kind of energy. I wish I could get more clarity for you, because it makes me nuts that I can't get a clearer picture, but that's what I'm getting for right now. So going forward, um, whatever the sentence is that Judge Marchand imposes, I'm being told that it's going to be imposed, but it's going to be delayed until at least after the election. But whatever it is, it really sets Trump off. And it's in indignation. It is, how dare you? Yeah, it reminds me of, so you'll see it on television, or you'll see little clips on YouTube where somebody gets pulled over by the cops and the first thing out of their mouth is, "Don't you know who I am?" It's that same attitude. It's like, excuse me, who the hell do you think you are telling me what to do? So he's going to go off on that. And it doesn't matter if he gets probation. Okay? He's just going to freak because, first of all, he's going to have a willing and ready audience 4 days later. And he's just going to be like indignant, that somebody would dare to impose some sort of a sentence on him. And I'm getting that it is a monetary sentence, which in some ways just pisses him off even more, because already how much money of his own does he have to spend, and it's not really his, and so how much fundraising does he have to do to get the money? It's kind of like that kind of a crazy in the head. So there's a monetary fine, but there's something else that's connected to it. And I don't know whether it's limited home confinement, whether it is, probation for 10 years. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on there. He will also know by that time how much immunity he does or doesn't have. And I think that that's also going to play into it, because he really believes that they're his judges, and his judges are going to do his bidding, because that's what the people at the RNC do. And so why would the judges not do that? Like, that's just sort of the way his brain works. I got you into the highest court in the land. You do what I want. And it's just not going to fly that way. And I think he's going to honestly be like right agitated and right stunned. So where does the GOP go from here? Like, truly, where do they go after the implosion of the Trump party? For a long time, when we talked about Trump and the people around him, the phrase, rats jumping off a sinking ship was sort of used. I have to tell you, at this point, it looks like all of the rats are trapped in the cargo hold. Okay, they can't get out. And so until he is no more, they're trapped. But once he's not around, it's like they are walking around kind of in a shell-shocked state, because they don't know who they are anymore. Because whatever illusions or delusions they had about who and what they were and what they stood for and what policies were has just been like, dandelion fluff in the air. It's just gone. And they don't really know how to pull it back in. And there's going to be a push for some of the more extreme senators, for example, vying for Mitch McConnell's seat when he gives up the, leader of the Republican Party in the Senate. His, the minority seat. And it feels sort of by that time that people they're going to see the writing on the wall. And then there's going to be this real, which way does the party go or not go? And it feels like there's no, center. And so when the center is not there, it cannot hold. And that's kind of the energy that I'm seeing around this. I am being told that the energy, all of the hard work people are doing, all of the positive intentions people are setting, all of the energy that's going into making this sort of a landslide for not only Biden but the Democrats. That it's going to be a very, powerful win for the Dems. And that is not what they are expecting. For whatever reason, they really do think this is going to be like one of them red waves. And it's not. And they're not prepared for it. It's like they're not capable of looking at things realistically, because if they do, they would actually have to make some decisions, and they don't want to make the decisions because, well, let's go back to it. They don't have a spine and they're afraid, and they're talking about their career. Like it just goes around and around. Like the energy is really, in some ways, it's unsettling to be in, because it's like, you're not, like, honestly, you have people who don't know when they take a step forward where or what that foot is going to land on. And that's the energy they're in right now. And that is going to become more and more amplified as we roll towards the election, the end of the year, and inauguration. Steve Bannon was in somewhere, giving a speech somewhere. And, with the screaming and the yelling, are we at war? Are you ready to give all for this? And it's like, please go to jail and be quiet for a while. Shh, go. On a slightly lighter note, I was scrolling through, I think it was Facebook, I could be wrong, earlier. And, they had those like questions, like, I don't know, what's the most romantic song you've ever heard? Or what's whatever. The question was, what is the craziest cult that you know of? And and normally I don't read these things. I went into comments, and it literally, not everyone, but I would say probably 15 out of every 20 comments, it was the Republicans. So, take some comfort from that, right? I mean, they're the only ones who think that nobody else sees, frankly, what they see. Maybe they think that they have clearer sight, or, because they're in closer proximity to Trump, they're able to get a better read on it. But in actual fact, everybody sees it, and frankly, far more clearly than they do. And that pulling away from Trump of sort of some, traditional Republicans and independent is going to keep happening. It is just like his hold on everyone and everything but MAGA and MAGA sycophants is receding, and it's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And, everyone continues the strong focus push forward. This is not the time to become, complacent or just assume that everything's going to be fine, because in many ways, the win has to be overwhelming. Absolutely overwhelming. I am old enough to remember when in Canada, and it was actually the Conservative Party, and they won Canada by an absolute landslide. And it threw the other parties just into chaos. It didn't take long before they did, I think it was the GST, right? That overall tax that you get taxed on everything. That really annoyed a lot of people, and it didn't take long to get rid of them. But the point was, when you have a landslide connection, a landslide election like that, what it does is it gives the winning party incredible amounts of power. But more importantly, it gets the other parties to basically get back on their paper and behave themselves, because they don't have any clout. So that's sort of the energy that I'm seeing as this thing goes forward. So it's really, really important that it's not just a win. A win isn't good enough. They need a landslide. It's not enough to hold the Senate. They have to get rid of some of those senators so that they can deal with the filibuster. It's not enough to take back the House. They need a big enough majority in the House so they can silence some of the insanity that are still, they're going to be voted back in, whether it's a Bobart, although I don't think that's going to happen, very possibly a Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, maybe. So there's still going to be crazies, right? So it's important that there's enough of a win, a big enough win, that there is the ability to silence that. And so that there's an ability, for example, to get stuff through, whether it is, voting rights or DACA or all of it. Okay. And that includes sorting out the Supreme Court. So you've got a lot on your plate. But energetically, it absolutely looks like the country is heading in the right direction. The light is getting stronger and stronger. I'm going to try to share with you a picture. So, every once in a while, you will see like a satellite picture of a city or a country. And all you can see are lights in the populated centers, right? It's just this like compression of light energy, and there's places that are darker, but what draws your eye is the areas where there is this intense light. That's what I'm being shown. But what I'm being shown is that even in the darkest areas, there's lights that are turning on and popping on. And so across the board, literally border to border, there is an increasing realization that love Joe Biden, hate by Joe Biden, or indifferent to Joe Biden, he really is the choice for this election. And more importantly, it can't be mitigated, I guess, by voting for him as president as a Democrat, but then voting for somebody else as a Republican. I mean, it's going to happen. But by and large, people are really starting to realize that their government is frozen because one party has decided that chaos and obstruction is their calling card. So let them do that. Let them carry on, because the more they do it, the more they're alienating people. And the mega crowd is slowly shrinking, not by huge amounts, but it doesn't need to shrink by big amounts. And again, if they absolutely can't vote for Joe Biden, great, stay home, don't vote. So that's what I'm looking at. The GOP, I think now we should just all refer to it as the party, the Trump party, TTP, the Trump party, because that's what they have become, whether they want to be or not. They have surrendered. And so that's where it's at right now. One hopes that they ultimately are happy with their choices, because I don't think it's going to go so well for them. But hey, what do I know? Thank you for being here. To my new subscribers, welcome to my establishment. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I read all your comments. I so appreciate the thumbs up, and every single one of you that is viewing this video and the others that I release. Thank you very, very much for being here. I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, you take care and be well. Bye-bye.